All right, welcome everybody to whatever we're calling this show, a series of videos that are talking about the SHOT Show that's coming up in January of 2023. It's the Shooting and Hunting Outdoor Trade Show, the largest of the shooting industry's industry shows or get-togethers. It's a show that has been semi-permanent for the last 20-something years. 10 years in, I don't know how many years, I have to do the math, in Vegas. And because it's such an interesting event, a couple people have expressed interest in knowing more about it. It comes up in conversations, and it is so large that probably things about it can be difficult to find out. So in order to kind of clear things up, to talk about it, to champion it, and to appreciate what it offers, we're doing this series of videos. I'm joined by my friend Clover from Texas. Thanks for joining.
Hey, good to be here.
Okay, and we're trying to do this in an hour. So we've already been blabbing. I've been blabbing for about a minute. I'm going to let you take it here for a bit and talk about what we're talking about today. Put you on the spot.
I have no clue what we're talking about today.
Oh, it was getting the most out of the after events.
Oh, the after chat stuff. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, but I've always said, the show itself for me is, and we've always known that SHOT Show being the industry trade show. A lot of people don't realize that necessarily, but it is not a gun show, so it's not for the average person or anything like that. It's for folks within the industry to get together and talk shop and place big orders and other things, and all part of that is the networking, right? And the meeting people and talking with people, and of course, to place those orders ultimately. But not only does things happen, those things I should say happen on the show floor during the day, but there's also after events at night where things of that nature can take place. And then you also talk, I think one thing we were talking about is the rituals or the habits or the routine things that not only ourselves as media, but other people tend to do since we're in Vegas. As far as once the show's over, meeting up certain places and doing certain things. And so, gives a time to not only, the networking aspect is covered, but also, a camaraderie and a relationship building aspect of things. Networking can be really clinical. Like, I do this, you do that. Hey, let's get together and do this project over here. And that's the end of it. Whereas, the after events can breed more of an actual relationship where it moves from beyond that. Hey, I offer A to the game, you offer B, and we're going to, accomplish Z, to, hey, I like this kind of soft drink or food, or, this, we got these things in common in our life, or, we both hate 9mm, or, whatever the case may be.
Right on. So as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking that, we all have different things that we do there. And that's one of the things that drives me nuts. Like, I don't mind maybe on Friday sitting around at BSing, but I don't like sitting around at BSing. I sit around at BS all year long. So I already know everybody's favorite soda, you know what I mean? For the people I hang out with. But it is an opportunity if you haven't met somebody before. That's one of the things that we're not here to sell you this is the recipe or something, right? I mean, that's not the point. This is to tell you that it's a big giant thing and there's different ways to approach it. So I'd like to at least put the thing out there that if you have, let's say, we have podcasts. Well, I have a regular podcast. Clover's had regular podcasts in the past. But like when you do a weekly show or something, you're going to have people on and you're going to have opportunity after that show. We call them after chats or whatever you want to call it, where the show goes off air, but everybody's still in the room together and you end up chatting. Sometimes about what we just talked about, other times about whatever. So if you've got something going on, there's so much opportunity to get to know people. And when you're sitting around after the show usually in the evening, sometimes after some relaxing beverages or something. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to know people. So when you get to SHOT Show, that's when I'm like, what can we do hands on? So I'm with you, but I think I'm more of or I'd be more of the inclination to go, let's go someplace and do something and get an experience together, go on an adventure together or something like that.
Right.
Rather than hang out at a place and shoot the shit sitting at a bar. Because there's a lot of people that, well, it's just, it's also a different thing with physicality or whatever. If you got worn out and you're just going to want to sit there, you might as well sit there with somebody, right? That's a whole
Right.
different story than like, hey, I got some energy left. Right. So, um, I put that out there for people that want to ask questions or whatever. Feel free. So the topic is after events and what else to do in Vegas since you're going to SHOT Show. In the notes, I have. I guess I didn't take a ton of notes on digging into these. I think that was the concept, is to let us kind of devolve these things into more than just the thing. So as far as the after events, there are some, we call them after events because SHOT Show is from like 8 to 5 or something, like a business day. Then these events happen after after the show closes, but they happen each day. So they happen after the show closes on Tuesday and after the show
Well,
closes on Wednesday, but they're also before the thing even starts, on Monday or Sunday even. Go ahead.
so yeah, check the private chat while I say this, but we're marked at after events, but I guess my question to this is, can we also talk about pre-events, because we know there's breakfasts and lunches, and then also before you ever even get to SHOT Show, maybe there's some things that I can talk about there, because we're also talking about what else to do in Vegas. So are we kind of encompassing the whole thing, like things outside of SHOT Show that you wouldn't normally do, but because you're going to SHOT Show or you're at SHOT Show, you're doing those?
Okay, so then Sheepfire saying, what kind of things go on at the end of each day at SHOT Show? So the show itself is not like there's rules like the building is going to open at this time and it's going to close at this time, and then there's rules that the NSSF, the what do you call it, like the hosting, the promoting, or the promoter is going to apply. So there's the Vegas rules, I suppose, probably laws. Then there's the rules of the building. In other words, here's when we're going to open the doors, and here's when we're going to close it. Here's what's permitted, and here's what's not. Here's what's available, and here's what isn't. And then SHOT Show comes in. For example, like Wi-Fi, it probably isn't just available in that building. That's something I bet SHOT Show brings in, because some shows don't need Wi-Fi, right? So there's going to be rules that SHOT Show applies to the thing, and then there's like tradition or what people do, like the culture of the show. So looking at it like what happens at the end of the day, there's going to be the hard guidelines when the building is open, and then there's the when SHOT Show wants you out of there because it's easier to get everybody out of a building to secure it all night. And then there's the I guess pretty much everybody's going to call at 5 o'clock, the end of SHOT Show, right? So then there's sort of things that'll happen in the show towards like 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Some of the booths will have beer, for example, but other things will happen if they're doing giveaways or if they're doing some kind of I don't know, one of them wheel things, and they've been trying to give away something all day. Maybe they'll say, everybody gets free reels and wheel spins on the wheel until we give this away. It's kind of just dependent on where you happen to be standing and what happens to be going on. It's chance, right? But there's those kind of things that are going to happen, like traditions of a booth or something that they come up with as a marketing thing, or just something that's fun. There's a lot like Super Bowl was there one year, like it happened during Super Bowl. So I'm sure a bunch of stuff came up about that. I probably didn't pay attention to. But then I think Sheepfires is probably talking about the things that happen after, or extracurricular, I guess, off the premises or off the campus.
Yeah, probably. I'm guessing that's what she's talking about.
So I think you can break them down to, I would put them, there's a lot of things. So I'm trying to decide where, I'm going to ask Clover where you would draw the line. I think I'm going to draw it between people farting around and people doing business. I think they generally could be divided into those.
I think
Well, maybe reminiscing. There's probably like reunions or whatever that would be called. There's definitely like units will get together. I know like companies will bring back people, or maybe something that maybe let's I don't know of one, but maybe like if a media organ like gun channels doesn't exist, but it kind of does. Gun channels would get together. Something like that might happen. What do you call that? I don't know. It's not
Well,
really. It's kind of just shooting the shit.
it's kind of just hanging out. Yeah, I don't think you could. I don't think you can boil it down to two. Those two categories alone. You have companies and or organizations that will have events, and some of them are very specific. I know my wife has been um, to some women only events, for example, right? Where some of the organization events or the company events uh, are mixed, whatever. What is that? Co-ed, I guess. Um, and then you're right. Then you've got very specific groups that get together, right? Then you've got um, like-minded, the like-minded people. I would call that, or, like-minded slash family, right? That's where the gun channels thing comes into play, which is, more of a hanging out. So, but I would disagree that it's business or just shooting the breeze. I think in
Everything happens.
every event I've been to, both are happening at the same time and can happen in the same conversation. Actually,
Yeah, it's going to happen because everyone's there with that motivation for the week, and they're there doing stuff, moving and shaking. So you figure out something. Oh, I had no idea. Now I'm telling my friend, and what it works with whatever you're doing. Or wait, we're doing things opposite. Let's wait. We think what these are really good ideas or not. Like
right?
that kind of stuff is going to happen. But I guess what I was thinking is like if they set it up, like if it's at a, I'm not allowed to say titty bar anymore. So strip bar, gentlemen's club, whatever you're supposed to say.
Right.
There are ones that get, obviously not everything's going to get posted there, but there's something that might get scheduled there in the past. Let's say things had been scheduled there. Well, that ain't going to happen in 2022, right? Not with anybody who wants to do business or actually have anybody, what I mean? Like very few businesses are going to ever contemplate something like that. But,
Right.
but it's something that drastic, or maybe, I don't even want to say mini golf or something like, but there might be, I'm trying to think of something else that would be just going out and getting blotto drunk, maybe. Like I don't know, just meeting at a bar and a bunch of drinking people, and they all just get drunk,
Right.
and they're going to talk about booze until they're blotto, and they're just going to be blotto and show up late tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people that do that, and I'm assuming people that are into that are going to know where to hang out with that. So I'm thinking something like that. There might be some business because obviously everybody's got their own pace and style. So I'm sure some business
Right.
gets done right there. But for the most part, I think some of them are set up to say, because I think some of them are actually set up. I'm using crazy extreme examples that really don't even exist, but some of them are set up to be like, let's let your hair down and forget the show. Like this is a way to cut loose and not think about it because it's Thursday or something, and like I don't know. Then there's definitely ones that are set up and like, hey, or don't let business end when the show doors close. Show up at our place and bring your checkbook or bring your Rolodex or whatever. Bring your business cards.
Right.
'Cause, it's we've got finger food, but you're here to make
Yeah.
connections or whatever. Now,
And
do you
I've
know
been
of
to.
any? Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, do
I
you
was
know of
just
any
gonna
that
say,
are engineered for that?
as far as what the letting your hair down part.
Well, either way, I guess I was thinking the business card one because I haven't been to that one. I've heard of them, but I haven't had any inclination to
I
go
would
to one.
say I would say the Antares Alliance that's done up in their suite
Oh,
is
okay.
is a similar. Hey, we're gonna hang out. I mean, they buy a bunch of liquor and they set up a little quasi bar. Of course, and people drink, but it's more of a bring your business card mingle type situation where there's some BS going on. Yeah, but you're also meeting people within the alliance and friends of the alliance and other things like that too. What I was going to say earlier is that I've been to both sides of the party. I've been to the one where the music was super freaking loud, the drinks were flowing freely, and it was just more about just chilling, and you couldn't really even have a conversation. And then I've been to stuff that was far more intimate, right? Um, but yeah,
Meaning like conducive to conversation where it's like literally set up to just mingle and hang out.
I mean, there was music, but it was not overly powering and blaring. There was the ability to for liquor or whatever, but you had to pay for that if you wanted it. So not everybody was you know sucking the bar dry. Um, so yeah, and it was, there was plenty of comfortable seating and things like that, that you could sit around and actually have a conversation. A
So
lounge, a lounge situation compared to like a straight up bar situation, I guess is kind of what I'm going with.
one of the elements of it is, this thing started in the 80s, and um, police came into it in the 90s. Well, actually, it started before that. It started in the 60s or something. But, it kind of existed probably without a ton of change. Like a lot of things didn't have a lot of change until it got larger and more people influencing it. And then technology and communication, speed of communication, changes it. So you've got people that are, I don't know. I'm going to call it tradition again because I can't think of the words in my head. So they create these traditions. We're going to go here. Those people are going to go there. These people are going to do this. Somebody in there is going to the restaurant at the top of the needle or something, and that's their thing to bring people together for something. And somebody else is taking them to a range, and somebody else, maybe there's like some hunters that go out and look at hunting dogs and they run them around or something. Somebody else is going four wheeling. Like there's different things that are happening because there was no other options back in the day. Then you get, let's fast forward a little bit on the clock for the timeline, and you get internet influence and different types of media, different types of. So once you have new types of media, that we don't really talk about this too much, but at one point there was no celebrity at SHOT Show because there was no celebrities in firearms, right? There was one or two Olympics maybe, and like a hunter who did something or a TV show. There was no celebrity, so to speak, in firearms. Then there became, and every once in a while, a military hero, but very rarely was that associated with any firearms brand or anything, maybe a model or, endorsed a ad campaign or something. But once you change the dynamic and individuals are holding cameras and individuals have audiences and people's ears and eyes, what you get is a different respect and a different conversation between people walking up to a booth because they could be media, they could be a buyer, they could be somebody with social influence that isn't any of these things, right? And it could be none of these things and still create a viral video based on something that happens. So we just live in a different world, right? And as that kind of stuff changes, these events are changing too. Well, so there are some that are kind of more, I don't want to say, I'm going to say tied to the past. They're involved with people showing up and doing stuff and things and more physical activity and things like that, where some of them, I'll bet you we know there's virtual things that are happening. Hey, everybody's tired after the event. Let's all go back to our rooms, do our own separate thing, and meet up online, and we kind of get a lot of stuff accomplished that we would get accomplished at a cocktail party, but not have to then drive home after the cocktail party and have to down a bunch of drinks just to stay awake, and then have to deal with that body tomorrow morning instead of the body that goes home and drinks water, eats some kind of protein or something, lays there, lets your body recuperate while your brain is doing all its stuff and your mouth is communicating and your brain's doing its thing, but your body's laying there recuperating. The next morning, that hydrated, rested body is up and attacking SHOT Show, where otherwise it's more vitamins and caffeine and energy drinks, trying to make it through lunch, sugar and energy drinks to the next, repeat the cycle. That can wear you out. Anyway, I kind of got off on a couple of things there, but I think that some of those events have changed to be or to adapt, and I don't think there is any one. So in your time going, when you started going, you didn't just go, without paying attention first. You were doing some kind of research first. In that first year, did you have any after events specifically that you had in mind, or that was there any specific plan there? And then after so many years, how has your plan changed to incorporate the after events? Maybe to start off with, when you started, like out of 1 to 100%, your concentration was on the show and after events. Probably very little on the after events. What percentage on the after events at the beginning, and what percentage on the after events now?
I would say first starting, percentage on after events, maybe 10%. But
And that was anticipation, I'm guessing, not like confidence, or like you weren't like.
Yeah, I mean you have to get a feel for the room, so to speak. Once you understand the communication, the networking portion of it, which is part of the work on the shot floor, that those things yield opportunities with the events, right? And so the first year it was a combination of, I didn't know how to get, I kind of knew some big things that went on, but I didn't understand that there all of the amount of smaller things that went on as far as after events, right? I mean, everybody reads about, hears about, knows about, Glock and Cry and all these other big, huge, crazy parties and other things. But you don't think about the smaller stuff that goes on, like the Antares, like the Sol Invictus, that
Well,
little buffet thing they had at their Airbnb, right? A lot of people don't think about all of the little things, and so in order to know about all the little things, you have to network and talk with people, and you have to spend that time on the show floor, asking the right questions and meeting the right people. Um, Now, I would say it's not exorbitantly more, um, but I would say that it's probably doubled. So I would say maybe 10% going in and starting. I would say maybe 20% or so now. And the reason is it's progressive. Is that the word? In that it comes with the more you understand how to work the floor and talk with people and network, the more those opportunities present themselves. So it's not like I'm focused more on it, but because I'm doing the the right things on the floor, which correlate to those after events, right? It increases the opportunity.
see, and this is, I don't know if this is useful or not, but it's to enable to archive and offer perspective. This is going to sound like a dick, and I am offering this like big brother, bad uncle advice. So I definitely have a different, if somebody would ask me that question, I would have said, I didn't even know there was after events back in the day. And because I was going to answer you first, I guess. When you said that you didn't think, or that people don't often think about all the smaller get togethers, and you mentioned a couple, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I tried to interrupt you there, but I stopped. There were no smaller events. I mean, there definitely weren't the small events that happen now. There might have been smaller events, but they were tiny little versions of the big events because that's all people knew. It was the years of evolution that created the ones that you're referring to. But um, so I didn't know there was events back in the day, so I would have put no effort into it. And back in then, we were playing Vegas. We were just going around playing around in Vegas because for us it was like, oh, it's still a vacation. We didn't know, and I bet you to a lot of people it was still a vacation because it's in Vegas and the show's over. Now I'm going to go run around in Vegas, and that meant go watch shows. Everybody watched shows back then. Would go gamble if that was their thing, or go drink for free and act like they're gambling if that was their thing, or I don't know, whatever else is in Vegas, right? Like people went and did Vegas stuff, then they came back. There were some events that people knew about, and some events that we always tried to get to the Glock event just because I knew it was a thing and I wanted to experience it or whatever. It was always the elusive thing or whatever. But then after years, I found out about some secret events, we'll say. And here's the thing: I don't want to sound like a dick, but I'm going to sound like a dick here. And I'm not trying to offer this as advice for sure, but when I found out there was these secret events, well, then I was curious, right? I want to find out what these secret events are all about. And in asking around about them, I got invited to them, let's say, and then experienced them a couple of times, and I was like, okay, now I get it. I understand it. And they're epic. So they were epic. I don't know what they're going on anymore. I don't think they happen anymore. So that was a different environment, and therefore I gave it a lot more attention because there was some effort needed to be able to deal with it. It was an effort. You just didn't buy a ticket, or you couldn't just, you literally couldn't buy anything to get there. You had to do other things. Other things had to exist for you to be able to get to some of these things. And I'm trying to be elusive because they don't exist anymore. And I don't want people to go to SHOT Show and think, I'm looking for all the stuff I don't know about. Because they may exist. I don't want to, the things I'm talking about don't exist, but other things like it, I'm sure exist, because if anything cool happens, somebody's going to try to emulate it. I know for a fact a couple of people emulate the one. But what I'm trying to get at is when I was attending SHOT Show, it's changed for sure. The percentage of effort I put on those after events and percentage of anticipation I had for those after events have changed. But at one point, and for a couple of years, the after events is what I went to SHOT Show for, because that was where more stuff happened for me and for what I was interested in. And and those events happen to become epic for a minute, I think, and then they went away. So one, if you miss stuff that is only temporary, that's frustrating, right? If you get to attend stuff that's only temporary, that's a whole different thing. And other people may not, what's the word? They may not value it as much as the people that participated, but often the people that participate in singularities or in rare things that last for a few years have a bond, and they have that wink, they have that nod to each other going forward. We're the ones that were at that thing, or we're the ones that know about the thing. And so I don't want to crap on any little events, and I do want to put it out there that there may be things happening. I know there's things happening I don't know about, and Clover doesn't know about. But whether or not those things are awesome and worth pursuing is a question mark. I want you to know of them, I guess, with this, but I don't want you to spend your time only pursuing those, because they may end up to be lame, in which case you put a lot of effort into attending something lame or experiencing something lame. But at the same time, like I say, I would have thought you put more like 40%, and maybe you would have said 10 to 40%. When you said double, I was impressed, because but that's because you do so much more stuff at the show. I quit doing stuff at the show, really, compared to my year of doing stuff. Like, the show is a piece of it, but nowhere near I'm not putting effort into that part of it at all. So that's where I think we're seeing a different whatever percentage on how much we're looking at them.
And you're coming in it with years of experience and seeing the evolution, right? Like, I haven't been nearly as many years as you, and I have seen evolution. So I totally understand what you're saying, and yeah, your perspectives are going to be different than mine because of that.
Now, you also have been going to SHOT in an era with media being internet media. So you've gone to things that I don't have any interest in, because I'm never going to go to a YouTuber thing. Like, I just don't have any interest. I went to the first YouTuber things. I didn't go. We went to the first YouTuber things. And anyway, I'm never going to a YouTuber things. So those kind of things just didn't exist or whatever. But because they're not going anywhere, there must be TikToker things, right? There's got to be Instagrammer. I know there's Instagrammer things, but there's knife things. There's, everything except the stuff. I'm sure there's AK stuff, but I was gonna say everything except what I like, because I bet you there's like a CZ group that gets together, and unless there isn't, if there isn't, then if you're going to SHOT Show and you're into something, doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to use CZs for this example, because I like to pick on them. But if there was a CZ group there, they would be smart to meet up on, like, let's say Wednesday. I always think of the wrong day. Wednesday, 2 days into the show, Wednesday night, get together and go, what did everybody see? So that everybody gets to see everything and nobody misses nothing, right? That's the kind of stuff that can happen in 2022. That would have never happened in 2010, right? Five.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
So that kind of stuff is neat, where I'm into AKs. AKs, what would you say? 5% of the show? Giant year, 10% of the show? Like, there's no AKs at SHOT Show. So finding all the AK stuff is really difficult. Sometimes you're by yourself, but if you had 20 people that were into AKs and you're meeting up on a forum, and if you're not going to SHOT Show and you want to participate, actually, I'm going to make a point of bringing that up later again, too, for people that listen to this and go, oh, shucks, I wish I could go to SHOT Show.
Robot.
Right. And usually stops it.
There you go. You're back.
Okay, I was just saying that most of what happens at SHOT Show is really not at SHOT Show. It's all preparation. Yeah. It's all other people being involved, and then it's all after the fact. SHOT Show happens for 4 days out of a year with 364 or whatever, 361 other days. Yeah. Most of SHOT Show isn't SHOT Show. SHOT Show brings 60,000 people together out of an industry of hundreds of thousands, if not, well, I'm sure it's millions. What am I saying? Yeah. So SHOT Show is not the people at SHOT Show. The people at SHOT Show are the eyes and ears and the monkeys carrying around cameras. So, in other words, my secret is that I've never had to worry about what's at SHOT Show, because people like Pink and you and Ghost and everybody else who goes does all the stuff about worrying it because you're worried about that, and Ghost's worried about this, and Pink's worried about what people say that they're interested in, and that happens. We all chat, and then, oh, do you know about this? You probably like this, right? Like very rarely does anybody miss anything.
Right.
But anyway, so I was just saying that the people at home can be a facilitator for the folks who are there. It can be crazy what we're trying to prepare people for who might be going again or after some amount of time, because it does change. And if you haven't been for a while, get ready for a new SHOT Show. But if you're going for the first time and trying to get it all figured out, we're not trying to overwhelm you, but give you a realistic perception of it, and hopefully some useful strategies or some mindset to have as you go in. But all this isn't just for those people going in. It's also to explain to the people who are the 99% of us that don't go to SHOT Show about what the situation is there and what they could probably use for assistance, right? Or, whatever, support. And, sometimes hosting a room, sometimes finding pictures and putting them in one spot. I mean, there's so many ways. We could have a whole conversation really on how to do at-home support. If you're going to SHOT Show and you're spending any amount of your effort, your treasure and your time to do it, and you've got people who are on your side, I would highly recommend incorporating them as a resource into your strategy, into your overall strategy. Having friends on gun channels is fun and sometimes useful, but it's really random. And if something happens, then that person isn't going to be able to be there to host the thing, or that person's not going to be there to move back and forth between the thing, whatever the role might be. So if you really want to make the most out of your SHOT Show, I guess we're kind of off topic with after show stuff, but having people off campus, off site, can be a secret weapon. I don't know if we can say that, but I think.
Well, I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, there's absolute value in those that open the.
I mean, the biggest projects only have a few people on the floor. The biggest projects, most people.
You roboted again. All right, I think you're back.
I was just saying some of the biggest projects, we're running around trying to get somebody on the phone, and some of the biggest projects have a secretary who's on the phone with that person, making sure they're where they need to be, and we're trying to catch up, right?
Right.
So, anyway, so appreciate you killing some of those bots out there, a little distracting, knocking down bots as they pop up. And Ghost is saying having people willing to start a chat, letting you jump in while you're there is great. Logistics start to, I think it was a typo or something, but starting up, I think you mean starting up a live chat is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Woodstock. Somebody saying it's like Woodstock. You don't know what's going to be epic until later. Yeah, I suppose. I think there's a lot more like fishing, because Woodstock is like, let's put all my eggs in one basket, go to Woodstock, and I don't think the people that went to Woodstock had any concept, but after the fact, right, it would be kind of like one shot, but it's more like fishing, because you're going to be doing so many things that you're going to get different returns on all of them. You start needing to judge, what was worth your time and that kind of thing.
You've usually got a sense of it though after the first day, after Tuesday. Like Tuesday night, you kind of got a feel of like, oh wow, this, all the big buzz, the big things, and whatever it might be, whether that's a product or whether that's a company or whether that's the rumors or whether that's the energy of the show. Like you can kind of nail that down after the end of the first day. And so that's interesting, an interesting aspect too, and part of why the after events and stuff is important. Like you said, sharing stuff, because there may have been people that they spent their first day and maybe the law enforcement thing, and so whatever happened happened on the main floor or whatever it was, and so now they're aware, and the next day they can hit that up. So
I think I'd like to dang it, I unplugged these stupid earbuds that I got, and now that distracted me from the thing I was going to say. Let's talk about The fact, oh, I was going to say, let's talk about what's in Vegas because this is Vegas, and especially for someone who's never been there before. I don't know. From your experience, let me ask this: if someone's going to Shot Show as an individual, I don't know how many people you might know in that case, and then for the first time, and then how many of them bring their wives because now it's a vacation for the couple and they don't know what to expect. So I'm going to be at Shot Show from 8 to 5. Why don't you book that show for 6? We'll eat dinner between, and then I'll get some sleep after. Like that kind of thing. So there are probably some people that bring their significant other or business people, whatever, and then intend on doing some other stuff at Shot. I think it might be a little bit unrealistic unless one, you pace yourself and who cares and do what you want. But two, once you've done it a couple of times, you could totally pace yourself essentially to know, okay, I'm going to need some energy or time or whatever energy basically to go watch this thing. So I'm going to kind of mope around at Shot Show today or tomorrow, both. But anyway, getting into that kind of stuff. And then I got a whole nother thing we'll talk about after that. But as far as Shot Show itself, now I don't know how much of this stuff you've done in your experiences, but you've definitely chatted with others that have either completely ignored this element of it or taken up that element of it. And actually, we could do another poll perhaps because this poll is kind of dry and we do it every show. It's about halfway through the show. I think I might do a show, another poll about Vegas. Like, what else would you do in Vegas if you're going to Vegas? But I'm kind of spoiled because we live in Tucson. We used to be like a half an hour. Well, we are a half an hour flight from Vegas, but it used to be just a few dollars. So on a whim, we would say, hey, let's go to Vegas. And we would drive over to the airport. Half an hour later, we're in Vegas. We'd fart around in Vegas for a couple hours. Half an hour later, we're on our way home. So we used to go to Vegas a lot, I guess is what I'm saying. And
Yeah.
I have a different relationship. I could care less about Vegas anymore. But I'm sure some people are like, this is Las Vegas. So I'm going to pause because I think I'm breaking up. And I'm going to kill that poll and start a new poll. Let Clover riff here on Vegas and your experiences with it and the idea of bringing a significant other to enjoy Vegas while you're at Shot.
Yeah. It's hard for me to speak on that necessarily because I just view the trip as a working trip, and I'm very careful with the time that I'm spending that offers zero ROI as far as being able to um, facilitate opportunities and things that ultimately, you know, give me a return on the investment of going. Um, that being said, um, I do have the experience with the significant other. The last year or couple of years, maybe even, my wife hasn't done anything really in the form of content or anything. And so she has, checked out some of the restaurants, checked out, some of the shops. I mean, hasn't made a show or anything like that. I know that, we do the road trip on the way in and on the way home. And that's more, maybe that's why it's not such a big deal for me to do the whole sightsee in Vegas, go do cool things. Is because we've got that day plus going in and the couple days coming home that, we do things, little things, and we'll see this or see that or whatever the case may be. Um, so maybe that's part of it. I know going in one year, we did stop, and if you're going traveling from the east, to Vegas, um, stop off. I mean, it doesn't take that long to stop off at the Grand Canyon, right? The Hoover Dam. I mean, you're talking about two, major things right there in that area that you can at least say you've gone and you've been, even if you just drive down there and look, go, oh, okay, there it is, and leave. At least you can, that's something you can check off your list at the end of the day. Um, I know for my wife, it's been little things. So like the driving in, and it's part of in the traveling, not Vegas, but we took a detour through, a little corner of California because she had never been to California. So, not only we do take a little detour through a corner, but we stopped at a very expensive California McDonald's and actually had breakfast. So she can not only say she's been to California, but she had breakfast in California. So because we do little things like that, I'm inept when it comes to ignorant when it comes to things in Vegas. Again, if it's not industry related, shot related after party, if it's not something as because it can be beneficial to simply go back to the Airbnb. Especially if you're with a group, which we've talked about that before, which is can be super beneficial, and go through the debrief, right? And restructure your game plan for the next day. So, I'm while I've got a little bit of outside looking in perspective on that, I definitely am not I'm not even close to the ultimate authority on hey, let's go hang out and enjoy Vegas. I've put money in slot machines very few times compared to the many times I've been. Never seen a show. You know, um, there are
Well,
things that I notice. I
you
do
haven't
enjoy.
even experienced the whole checklist once or nothing like over the years.
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. No,
What
no,
about going up in that needle or
no,
the archer? I don't know, those one of those roller coasters or anything like that. No,
nope, nope.
because that's a whole nother thing. I don't like
And I've
roller
got
coasters.
no. Here's the thing. So I've got no. It's just like you, G. You're kind of I don't have no, inclination to do that. Like, I don't want to do those things.
Right.
I'm the way with that. Like, I don't want to hang out and watch shows and go up in a fucking space
I've done
shuttle.
all those things because I was
Like,
cheap and poor when I
like
was
I
a
don't.
kid. You do them for free, but yeah.
Yeah, like I don't care about. I don't care about doing any of that stuff. That's not why I'm there. It's just I don't care about any of that. It's not that it wouldn't be neat or whatever. And one of these days, make a trip to Vegas just specifically to go to Vegas and hang out. Sure, all those things are on the agenda. But you know, if you make plans, that's the other thing. Is we talked about on multiple occasions being fluid. You know, you make plans to do things like that. Oh, we're going to go to this show. We bought our tickets to go to this show at whatever, and then you're on the SHOT Show floor, and some opportunity happens. Like, am I going to go watch Carrot Top perform some comedy, or do I want to go to this event that opens the door for me working with this company and doing these things, or helping this organization, or whatever the case may be, right? And the answer from me is going to be the latter. So I've just wasted money on the stupid tickets for Carrot Top.
I think what there should be is helicopters taking you from the top of the hotel that it's in. So all you got to do is walk out, go up an elevator to the top of the hotel, get in a helicopter, and go to a cool houseboat with a helicopter landing pad on it in that big lake over there, and then hang out on that lake, a helicopter right away. And then when you're done, they take you on a helicopter and you parachute down to wherever your hotel is.
There you go.
And that would be efficient. Okay, so I think that everyone thinks of Vegas as food because everybody eats. Not everybody goes to shows and all the rest, or gambles or any drinks and all that, but everybody eats. And I think everybody can agree that Vegas is, it's probably one of our things we should probably be embarrassed of as the United States or as humans. But on the other hand, we can also be super proud of the fact that we evolved to where we can make just the craziest flavors in the world all happen in places like this. And everybody who shames Vegas needs to go to like any of the countries where they have real giant waste. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
UAE or Saudi or someplace. Like, let's go talk waste in a place where they actually waste gold and stuff. So, we're over here being kind of wasteful for our level, which may be wasteful for most of the country, most of the world, but still. It's not like every city's like this. It is Vegas though. So, anyway, I'm trying to give people an out. No matter what your conscience is telling you, you are a human on a planet flying around, and Vegas is an opportunity to participate in some of the luxuries that humans have created, right? It's a real democracy of luxury, right? In some ways. So at whatever level, and trust me, I'm cheap. I might not be the poorest person on the planet, but I'm definitely super cheap and frugal. So I'm not going to Vegas to waste money. But I have been to Vegas on other people's dimes before. So I've experienced some interesting things, and it is fun once in a while. So I can understand the food part of it for sure. So I'm putting that at the top of the list. Vegas shows are not my thing, like you're saying. but I have gone to them just because I wanted to say I've been to them before. So I've been to the kind where girls are just dancing in the, I don't know what they call it, chorus lines and stuff. Super boring. Like it might as well be ballet. And then magic shows. I think I must have gone to Penn and Teller or something like that one time, just to say that I could do it, and I felt bad because I think it cost like money to go there, and I just didn't. I felt like it was a waste of money. I didn't. I could watch this on cable or whatever. It's just the same thing. But I can understand people digging it, so I can totally get it. You get to get dressed up, you get to go, and you're in Vegas, you're doing it, you're seeing these people live that you like and everything. I get it, and it's worth it, right? And plus they do things differently or whatever, so I get it. Just like a concert, and I'm counting concerts in the Vegas shows, right? Because
Sure. Yeah.
music's the same way.
Oh yeah.
Now Hoover Dam I'm putting in there because, well, I'm going to include things like if you want to just go marvel at the air conditioners. I'm an AC guy, so I can sit there just looking at the coolers, giant brine coolers. They use cold water and salt, or water and salt to make cold in these casinos. I just think that stuff's awesome because I've worked on little tiny things, and I get to look at these things. They're literally bigger than giant 3-story buildings. They're cool buildings. It's super neat, and they cool the pools and stuff. You start looking as an engineer at how they do Vegas, and it's kind of practical and kind of cheap and kind of ingenious and kind of, it's just neat, right? So you can go enjoy Vegas for the engineering in lots and lots and lots of ways. And I'll tell you what, it's probably, well, it will still be abandoned, but there's that one property there that's kind of been in for years. There's a couple of properties that have just been for years in various stages. So you can just kind of go look at a building like an x-ray machine. They haven't put the skin on it yet. So it's just super fun to just go to Vegas and experience some stuff that it happens so fast in a regular city, or typically, that you kind of get a slow motion version of some of the stuff. So anyway, I'm going to count the Hoover Dam as the engineering feats that you could experience in Vegas, plus the dam itself, the lake and all that. So I think a lot of people do go to the Hoover Dam, but one that I'm quite disappointed, I'm a little bit ashamed at our audience for not bringing this one up, and I think it's what everybody's going to vote for, which is, of course, international recreational machine gun shooting in Vegas. So not only is it an opportunity to go shoot machine guns that you might not have shot, but it's an opportunity for you to take your industry cred and go flaunt it around and go play with it. Go shoot some machine guns for free. You're in Vegas and you're media for SHOT Show. They're desperate to have people pay attention to them in a town where they're always desperate to have people pay attention to them. They make a lot of money. Don't worry about you pulling triggers on a machine gun. So yeah, going and shooting machine guns is definitely a thing. Also, just going four-wheeling and going out in the desert. They take their recreational four-wheeling very seriously in the dunes, or in the dune in the states where there's dunes like that. They can and do tool all over the place. So if you're interested in, or just want to experience it, very few places where you can just safely go out and, what's that called? Like beach running or something. Yeah. Anyway, you can do all that kind of stuff. So put it in there. Like I say, here's the thing. I can only tell you what I do. I'm a dude. I go up there and we drive up there. I'm enjoying the show. I like it as a reflection of the industry. I get to see people evolve and projects come and go. And I'm liking the big picture, sitting on the bar stool and watching it happen, talking to the bartender and knowing the staff on that guy. So my advice is I'm here to offer insight. I'm not necessarily here to offer advice all the time. Like my advice, probably like say bad uncle advice. But as far as a regular person who's going to SHOT Show for the first time, and this is a ton of money. I can definitely remember, I'm super spoiled because I live close to Vegas now, but I've gone to Florida and it was thousands of dollars to go to Florida, and you are not going for thousands of dollars to just casually sit around unless you're in a whole different situation than most people I know. So if you're going to spend your vacation time and you're bringing family, spouse, or whoever, because it's important that you spend time with them, and this is a significant chunk of your income, then ignore everything we're saying and spend 2 days at SHOT and go freaking have fun in Vegas. The fun thing is when the biggest show in town happens, nothing else happens in town. So this is like the 5th or 2nd biggest show in town. It kind of fluctuates. So this is a big show for Vegas. They had a big show last week, and I think the porn thing happens, which is, I don't know if it's big, but it sucks a whole bunch of other people up in Vegas. So a lot of times Vegas is kind of dry. Like it's just sitting there empty, twiddling its thumbs, waiting for the 60,000 people to flow out of SHOT Show. And you probably got some bargains. I've never done that, but because usually the times when we're not in shot, it's because we're sick, so we're not out playing around. But well, you've probably been the closest if you had uh, other people showing up. I'm trying to think, we don't get too many people. I brought it up because it does happen where people are like, "I'm bringing my wife," and then it's like, or like there's not a lot of time and energy left after doing anything, let alone a convention that's so big. But again, I think realistically, if this is your one shot to
Well,
incorporate
you're roboting again, G. That sounds clear now.
just go into pawn shops or farting around. You can go to restaurants and order like a drink, and go to a restaurant and order some fries, and go to another restaurant and share a burrito. You can go to all kinds of awesome experiences and not spend a ton of money, and they don't care. Like somebody else is going to come along later with their casino winnings and make up for your buying just a French fries and leaving.
Right. Well, I think there's something to be said for the type of person that goes and the mindset. So, what you were talking about earlier with bringing family members and like spending time. Well, it depends on what kind of person you are. And thankfully, I've been with my wife long enough; she understands what kind of person I am. But the I'm focused on the show. I'm going there for SHOT Show. I'm focused on the work. I'm focused on the show. It's hard for me to turn that switch off, right? So, depending on the type person you are, even if you have people that go, I mean, your body may be there, right? Like, oh, we're going to go over here to this restaurant, or we're going to go, over to this landmark or museum or whatever it might be. Am I really there? Am I really spending time with that person? Or is my mind, thinking about, oh, tomorrow it's shot, tomorrow on the floor, I need to do this, or, I've got to make sure that, I do X, Y, and Z. And for me, it's the latter for the most part. I mean, I'm for that whole week. I mean, give or take small sections. I'm in that zone.
I don't know how people do an hour show. Some people do 20-minute shows. It's fake. I don't believe it. So we're going to try to do this at an hour. It's very difficult because unless you structure it, you want to give yourself limited time to bear. Appreciate everybody's coming with through these. Couple that I starred here. She fires just saying it's fun walking through some of the different hotels. I forgot about that too. Yeah, you can. A lot of people, that's their Vegas trip. Literally, I know. Actually, most people I know. Now that I'm thinking about it, almost everybody I know the different shops and hotels, looking at the weird people and the whatever. Every once in a while, they're, oh, I met my one friend from 7 years ago. How weird is that? So, yeah, and that's free. And like say, drop a quarter or a dollar in a slot once in a while, and maybe you have free dinner or something. Got anything to add to that one? Sometimes it's unintentional if you misjudge something. And you go, oh, it's only 3 blocks away. Uh-oh. And then you're just walking for.
Well, this is true. Yeah.
Doesn't Vegas and the surrounding areas have some cool museums? Well, I know people that have gone to museums there, and there's like the Nuclear Museum and the Gangster Museum, I think, has something, but none of the gun museums on my radar are in Vegas, so I haven't been to too. I haven't been to any of them. Well, I don't think I've been to any even in my whole time.
Right.
Almost went to the Nuclear Museum, but it just didn't work out because I'm the same as Clover. If I can go, I'm like, why would I do anything in Vegas? I can come back to Vegas. Like I'm not doing anything except SHOT Show when I'm there for SHOT Show, except for that gun show. We forgot about the gun show, so I got to add that to the list. If we're talking about what to do after SHOT Show, literally after SHOT Show is over, there's an antique gun show in Vegas, and it's the longest running gun show in Nevada. It's an interesting show. I've talked about it before. I highly encourage you at least once, if not every year, add a day or two at the end of SHOT, let everybody else leave. That's just something else, I guess. It's going to be tough. I don't know if we're going to keep this in an hour. So there's going back to the museums. Do you know of any other museums, Clover? Or museums that you've heard good stuff that it's worth maybe checking out?
No, I haven't. I'm not aware of any. I mean, I know that the Clark County Museum's there, but that's about it. And I only know about that from the TV show thing.
now that I think about it, there used to be a car museum there's the SHOT Show is in the convention center, which is attached to a hotel. That hotel is next to another hotel. That other hotel, it's blue, has a car museum in its car, right? What do you call it? Like the parking garage. Like one of the levels of the parking garage is cut out and made into a museum. If that's still there, that's a car museum. It had somebody's presidential limousine. It had an Elvis car, mostly celebrities from Hollywood type of stuff, kind of their cars, and maybe a movie car or something or two. I'm not a big car person, but I mean, I knew what most of the cars were in there. And then a race car too. Then that antique show or the antique gun show, I just have to bring it up again because it's worth doing, because what you'll end up doing if you stay for the antique show, you're going to pay for the hotel, and that may be actually a big deal this year because it sounds like rates are going crazy. But if that's not the issue, you've got some other thing arranged, or you've got something going on like a sharing place with somebody or something, you can do it. Staying for the show allows you to let the airport, which is swelled up to 60,000 people attending for just this show, plus all the regular people that are going in and out, it lets them get the heck out. And whatever's coming in next week is coming in. So the airport gets pretty crowded. I've never flown in for SHOT, but all I ever hear is how crowded the airport is. So I'm sure they're an efficient airport and everything, but there's something to be said for leaving on any event, right? To especially any event that's going to swell an airport. I guess LA or a smaller event in Vegas isn't going to be so bad because they're used to the big stuff. But anyway, there's that idea. Either leaving before everybody, leaving on a Thursday, which I don't recommend, or waiting and staying until Sunday morning. You're getting a lot less swell from SHOT.
Right.
Probably fewer planes, so I don't know how they work it. But yeah, that's a good one about museums.
Now, Smeggy was talking about bringing, his significant other or whatever, but that she would be bored or whatever. My wife is there. I mean, there are people that like she was talking about. There's people that have family members or whatever that come that, the family members, yes, I mean, they, my wife will want to be at the show, and obviously she knows a lot of the people I know and ladies of the DC Project and other things. So there's a certain amount of that she's interested in, but she goes and does other things. So, it's just a matter of introductions and meeting new people, and maybe they can go sightsee or do something, you know what I mean, together. So there's that aspect of it.
I'd say a good chunk of Vegas is designed to be entertaining for people who are doing something else because somebody else is doing something interesting. Because so many things happen in Vegas that.
Well, I mean, look at all the conventions that happen there, and
Right.
with all the conventions that happen there, significant others go, and they don't care about the physicians convention or the whatever. Pick some
or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, pick some goofy industry, So yeah, absolutely.
And then I don't know what Count Customs is. They're talking about that, but that made me think of vehicles and something that people don't think about too often. And I don't know if we've got anybody currently. Pink for sure still does this with people. I don't know if anybody else right now, but over the years, one of the things that happens at SHOT Show, which is an element of SHOT Show, like, Pink is doing it now, but I've known other people that have done this over the years. I've done it. Hell, I've done it for over the years. Is it's an opportunity to rent a car. So if you fly into Vegas, you don't need a car for sure. Don't say you need a car. Back in the olden days, before other things, that might have needed a car, might have been useful. When going to the shoots and stuff is different. If you're going to the shoot with multiple people, let's talk. If you're just going there on your own, you got to ride to the shoots, or you're going to take the bus. Totally different story. But you can rent like exotic cars. You can rent, like I was saying, four-wheel dune buggies and stuff. You can rent real cars in Vegas because the people just want to play around with their winnings, or they want to go to Vegas and it's their honeymoon and they want to do something cool. So don't forget that. Like, you can incorporate that into Vegas. And let's say your significant other is a four-wheel drive nut. They're more than happy to drop you off at SHOT Show. Pick you up when? Yeah, I'll probably be done by then. They're going to be four-wheeling all day and loving it. Or racing around in a Corvette or whatever. I seen a Corvette go by me the other day, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Like, that was some kind of fancy car. It was a Corvette.
Right.
Looked like a race car. But anyhow, there's that aspect. And I just think it's neat too to rent weird cars that you might not ever want to buy or whatever, like I'd really like to rent an electric car, drive it around, see what it's like to drive things, especially the kind with the robot drives for you. I don't want to own one of them, but I definitely want to drive around in one, have the robot, drive me around so I go to sleep or whatever. It'd be great. So, you know what Count Customs is? Is that a car thing? I assumed it was a car thing.
Yeah, it is. That's the guy that anytime they had on the pawn shop show, anytime they had a car or vehicle or whatever, they called in his place. Yeah.
Right on. And then gun shops. Let's not forget gun shops. There's a bunch of them. The gun store is the first one. No, not the first one, but one of the first ones. The Vegas. Man, what is it called? It's on the one on the way to Pahrump is a big one too. It's definitely one of the better ones. It's got surplus stuff. I could go find the patch and I'd know what it's called. It's been a while since I've been there because it's so far out of town. But if you're going out to Pahrump for any reason, definitely remember to stop at that last shop. It used to be on the edge of town. It's probably towards the end of town at this point because of the growth of Vegas. But then the gun store is a really good one. And then 702 is unique. It's not my favorite, but it's unique. I would definitely check it out. And Machine Gun Vegas is one of my favorites. That's another one that's unique. It's not a gun store, but then some of the other just shops and stuff, I go on and on. I've been to, 14 of them or something in Vegas. I don't know how many of them are still there, but definitely you've got as much assortment in Vegas. Then there's surplus stores there too. So you've got as much assortment of gun. Oh man, well, the best surplus store on the planet is Han Surplus. What am I thinking? That's in North Vegas, which is Vegas. So yeah, if you're gonna give yourself some time, if you're driving, don't forget about gun shops and surplus stores. Goes to saying skydiving. Well, there's that thing where you can just sit on top of a fan. They just put some kind of a grid work over a giant fan, and you stand there, and it blows you up into a tube, so you can tube dive. But yeah, you can regular old jump. And I was gonna say, I bet you there's a thing where you could drive race cars on a racetrack because we have that in Phoenix. So I'm guessing they have it in Vegas. And sometimes those places will teach you evasive driving and that kind of thing. So as far as that, like I say, Vegas is definitely designed, like Clover's saying, because of all the conventions and stuff. It's designed to entertain people because of the honeymoons and people just vacationing there fairly cheap. Flights can be cheap because there's so many of them. It's a hub, I guess, not a hub for people getting off and going somewhere else, but a hub that everyone wants a direct to Vegas. So it ends up being like the spokes of a wheel. You end up having a direct flight usually from most airports, I think. So again, it's designed to be a place where people look for distractions and stuff. Are we missing something? I'm sure we're missing something big picture. You got to be careful of the weirdos and stuff. It isn't the nicest town in the world. It's definitely getting uglier and violenter as far as just weird stuff and cops being all over the place and fast to react and confrontational and stuff, just because they're trying to stop things before they get big, I'm assuming. There's so many different cultures and people there. They react differently. Some people react really differently. Other people can just let things slide. Other people freak out. So depending on, I'm sure if you get away from the strip, it's a little different, but Vegas is certainly changing. It's almost a ghost town. I don't know if you were off the strip last time. You get an idea what I'm talking about? Like all the stores really changed. The city had changed quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably something to be said for, I don't know if this is necessarily an after event, but since it came up, when you're booking, if you're booking a location, feel free to chat with one of us. I don't know every area of Vegas, but I've definitely probably stayed in more areas of Vegas than anybody. Not recently, but over the years. And I can tell you a little bit about what might be good or bad about getting in and out of the show from any part of Vegas. But I'm sure we can find somebody who can give us some insight as to what the neighborhoods might be like. There can be some really good deals, but think about it. Why is it a good deal? Might be really scary for your rental car, scary for your Uber people or something like that. We've definitely had people stay in quite places they were not comfortable in. And comfortable in the other way too. I've had, we've seen people stay in places that were super snooty, like you couldn't bring the dog in because it was too fancy. So be careful when you're booking that you read all. Oh, and then didn't you guys get in a thing one time where like you couldn't come in after 9 or something? Like they got some weird rules sometimes. So I guess that's probably another show is about staying in Vegas. We're doing pretty good at keeping it an hour. I thought it might take a little bit longer to address some of those, but I probably just didn't let you say anything. So do you want to address any of those? I kind of just rambled there for a bit.
No,
I'll
good.
flash some of these other museums up that people were mentioning. So I didn't even know. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of them. Now that you mentioned some of these, I did know, I guess. I think Gun Museum, I guess. Um, all right, I keep saying today for some reason. So we're gonna end the poll. 7 votes is all we got. Most people want to shoot machine guns. I anticipated in this crowd. You people look like a lot of people that would want to go around shooting machine guns all the time. You probably want machine guns to be legal. That's what I think. Then we got Fancy Dinner came in 29%, and then Vegas Show 14%. All right, well, so in that one, we'll pretty much run this right around an hour. Next week, we're going to be chatting about the range days. Or would you rather? Well, we have range days, cities of the city of Vegas, the monorail. We might want to kick that one out. We kind of talked about that today, I think. I don't know if we can devote a whole show to just the city of Vegas and the monorail, although I didn't really talk about the monorail like I wanted to today. Equipment, that's definitely a whole show. Planning your opportunities, maybe later on in the series, so that once people have got some ideas, they can run them past us and we can do that Q&A in front of people. Or is that better Q&A to do in front of people now so they can start planning?
Right.
I'm not sure. The food and drink and rituals, I don't know if that needs a whole show. So attending is the different roles at SHOT Show, thinking outside the box. What will the show be like? And then towards the end of the series, we'll bring a bunch of people together who've been, and actually maybe we'll do 2 shows. One where we get a bunch of people who've been and talk about what they think it's going to be like. And then I think it would be interesting if we can get a group of people together that haven't been yet. A whole show with just people that haven't been yet. If people are interested, so give us some feedback on that. All right, I'll give you the rest of the show. Thanks for jumping in, Clover, and thanks everybody for joining us. Clover will wrap it up, and then we'll be back with you next week. Well, a little bit earlier, I think. Today was a little bit late for a thing, but right.
I would just say that I think that probably on the equipment side, since a lot of the reason we do this is for the new people that are going. There's quite a few this year. Spoke with Shoe Fires this morning. Hopefully got her squared away for range day, but I think the equipment thing, I think we need to hit on it maybe sooner than later, because that may be some purchasing decisions or, Christmas gift idea, whatever that will give people some time to be able to budget that, try to squeeze that type of stuff in. If there's certain things they're not thinking about that they may need equipment wise. That's basically the only thing I've got to say.
Right on. So we'll talk a little bit off air, get that figured out. Maybe next week will be in one of those topics we just talked about. And then, well, I can't help but ask or question, what about borrowing? So we'll explore some outside the box ways of getting more equipment than you can actually pull on your own temporarily.
Right.
Okay, well, with that, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. This is ending live, but it still exists, right? It's going to be a video as it renders here. So if you're watching this thing in the future, feel free to leave comments. We do read them all. So we'll apply those comments or those questions that might come in to, and that applies to all the shows in the series, to the next one that we do. So we're doing these Tuesday mornings. Bring your questions, and this is the time to register. If you've questioned whether or not you should go to SHOT, register. What's the worst that can happen? You decide not to go. At least you're registered. Can't at the last minute. You can't make yourself registered. At the last minute, you can decide not to go.
Yep.
You bet. Thanks for being out there. Thanks for asking questions. Give us something to chat about. She Fire, Smeggy, Ghost, Weston, Ozzy, Chris, Corey. No, Kavy. Am I saying that right? And then I think I'm hitting everybody, right?
Yep.
I need to cue this up because that's the awkward part. I need to cue this up next time when Clover's saying stuff, and then.
Tonight's episode, Triangle of Terror.